joshing. Now, normally when Joshua Harms comes on the show, we're usually doing more of a traditional drink and drawing. But tonight we're doing something a little bit extra tonight because, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Harms has a guitar in his hand, wholly done, handmade, and he's got like a show this weekend going on, or about to go on, I should say, very
Mhm.
shortly. So, Josh, tell us what you're doing this weekend, man.
So this weekend, I live in Victoria, BC, and this Saturday from 10 to 5 is going to be the first, or at least one of the first, uh, Victoria guitar shows. So basically, a couple builders here got together and said, "Hey, there's a lot of builders around. Um, we should have a show. We should showcase all of this local talent." And so here it is. It's happening.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are indeed. So, and I could tell just based on, so folks, we actually did kind of like a mini rehearsal earlier in the afternoon today, making sure that all the sound was correct. Right. If my guest was going to be a little honest with himself, like like he's a little nervous. I think a little bit of this weekend. I think that's an accurate description, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like it's like I'm excited, I'm anxious, I'm happy, I'm tired. It's just kind of like a
I'll
roller
work.
coaster of emotions because yeah, this is like the first big or at least a larger scale chance for me to show my work, and there's kind of all sorts of uh, cool stuff that can come of that, and hopefully no bad stuff, and so yeah, it's just kind of like, the unknown, venturing off into the unknown.
So this is like, if I were to be perfectly blunt, this is a culmination, if that makes sense, of a lot of work and effort you've been doing for the last few years, at least
Yeah,
as long as I've known you, but probably far, far longer. Is
yeah.
that accurate?
It's been 6 years now since I kind of embarked on this journey of I was just volunteering in this thrift shop and repairing guitars, and I was like, man, I want to build these. I have my own designs and ideas to put out there. And so from there, yeah, 6 years later, I'm having my first show, and have like some guitars to show that I'm actually really proud of, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, I know. So back in my day, I'm going to be like an old man yelling at those clouds over there. Back in my day, I still remember my first comic convention, which was where I was behind the table myself, which was the Calgary Comic Expo in 2000. I want to say 10, but might have been 2011. And I had worked very hard to get this comic book made. I worked with this author I worked with. It did not go well. It was 3 years of hell for me. Like this, I think is the big difference between us. Because this, I don't think he went through quite the same tumultuous like downs I went through. But getting the, and I'm sincerely grateful. No one needs to go through the downs I went through. Some of the downs I went through. And I made the book, and it's like I gotta put myself out there, and I was like, is anyone gonna like what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna buy it. Now I had some things work my way. I was right beside the concession stand, right? So it really worked out in my favor. Like we were literally right by it. So everybody had to use the bathroom. Everybody had to use the if you wanted food. You know, like convention food's like it's overpriced, but it's literally everybody gets hungry in the middle of those shows. You're like, I gotta eat something. $10 for a fucking pretzel? What do I look like? And then you're like, I am a fucking sucker. That's just the way it is. I am a sucker right this fucking minute. And Josh knows what I'm talking about there. So people would come by my table. I actually did better than some pros did. I had one book. I was just me and one book in the world, man. It was this most scariest thing, but it was also really cool because, especially the second day of the show, I did really well. And I'll never forget
Yeah.
that experience. It was great. But yeah, you go through those butterflies of, oh my God, is this good? Am I good? And there comes a point in this, and this will hit you probably somewhere around like hour 2 or 3 of the show. You're gonna be like, doesn't fucking matter. I'm here, and I'm gonna make the most of this opportunity, whatever this is. And that I think is where, and when you're gonna get to that moment, it's gonna be really fun and exciting. Again, just speaking to you personally, professionally, I've 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 screwed around with you with illustrations and stuff like that. You take a lot of pride in your craft, even there. So I can only imagine how much more you take here. I
Mm,
think you're ready. I think it's going to be a great step for you, regardless of what happens,
yeah,
and you're gonna have a good time.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. It's been a wild ride, I gotta say. I mean, I feel like this is the first kind of body of work that I made that's like, yeah, this I'm really proud of this. This is ready for the world. um yeah, yeah, I was kind of, you know, I was working on a few building projects, and then I was getting closer to the show, and I was like, okay, I need to I gotta just work on backstock for the show. And so it took me 6 months. I built three guitars, and I guess we'll go through them at some point. But um, three guitars over a little over 6 months, and there was some slower periods. There were some more recently very intense periods of just in the shop every single day, 12 hours kind of thing. And that whole time you're just working alone. No one's really seen them yet. It's just you have an idea of like you've seen every little nick and ding, and you've seen every little part of the process that you maybe weren't happy with, and then the final product, you're like, mm. You still see all those little things that went wrong, and so I haven't really had a chance to show them off yet, until yesterday, which is um, a good friend of mine, Marcus Dominelli, who's a classical guitar builder here in Victoria, whose work I really respect. I've had a chance, a couple chances to meet with him and see his stuff, and he's been in the business for a long time, and I got to bring my guitars over to him and just sort of like this master of the craft, and just kind of offer up my work and lay it out there for his criticism, and he loved them. He thought they were great. He was so impressed, and that's just it's like there's such a weight lifted off my chest now, because it's like, okay, I know the outside observer, someone who I really trust the opinion of, is like, these are good enough. This is awesome, and then you can just kind of like lay back. It's like, okay, I can just go to the show and relax. I feel solid in in my work, and it feels great.
Your work's solid, but I get a feeling you're not gonna fully relax until you're actually in the show,
Oh
because
yeah,
there's a little bit of unknown trepidation that won't change until the moment gets there, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's part of the deal.
yeah,
But
definitely, definitely. I mean, it's a big social setting. I'm an artiste. I work in a workshop. That's my happy place. And then a big crowded place full of people touching my guitars and asking me questions.
I mean, yeah, but I mean,
It's fun, and I can put on that face, but it's also can be
it's
overwhelming.
it's also a little out of your comfort zone. And that's kind of that's the thing, right? Like, you're a swell guy. I am pretty sure if I was face to face with you, some of the conversations we've had and done, I'd be like, Josh, let's go for a beer, man. You'd be like, yeah, that sounds fucking cool. Then you're like, who are these strange people and why are they touching my guitars? And someone will go, how much? And then you'll be like, you'll say your price, and they'll just like, okay, here you go, right? I'm hoping, my secret hope for you tomorrow is they come and get with cash, and they
Mm.
actually come with like a bunch of little bills, so you can literally count the money being presented to you. Because I just kind of want to see, you like get like fainting a little bit by the time you get to a
Yeah.
certain point. You'd be like, And then when you're done, you're like, I don't know what just happened, but I made money at this, and you won't
Yeah,
like I've still gotten comfortable with people, but they give me money. I have to
yeah.
find a way to deal with my discomfort. You know what I mean? I'll figure it out. You
Oh
know?
man. Yeah, no, I was thinking about that, like, man, like, because you have to kind of temper your expectations with guitar
Oh,
shows, right?
sure.
A lot of it's just for networking. Like you're just meeting other builders and you're meeting players and they're kind of learning about your stuff and that's like what you kind of have to be like that is going to happen. That is guaranteed. Whether you sell anything is not guaranteed.
Yes.
So it's like I was just kind of mentally thinking like, man, what if I show up and just what's that first sale gonna feel like if it does happen? Is it just gonna be like, oh, really? You want to buy this?
Oh, you're gonna, dude. You're gonna be buzzed. Like I'm,
Oh
I'm,
yeah,
I'm gonna see. Let's be straight. It's no matter who you are, what your craft is, you appreciate being appreciative. Someone's willing to put the money out for something you've worked on. There's
hmm
not. It's a really cool high. It really, really is. Now I'm talking about as a guy that sells a comic book for like $3, not for
yeah,
the couple $1,000s that your guitar is likely to go for. I can imagine what the price tag is going to be there. So
mhm,
it's going to be a little more serious if someone buys your guitar. Now you don't even have to sell as many of them, really. You
yeah,
sold 2 guitars tomorrow, that would be a pretty good day for you,
that would be great.
right? Yeah, you'd be like, "Fucking this is great, like, I'm fantastic," right? But that because you create a specialty item it's not necessarily for everybody, but again, you're not going after everybody either. You're going after the people that appreciate the work and effort you do,
Yeah,
and that's what this is all about at the end of the day, man. There's nothing else really to it. Like, you want people that appreciate the good work you make,
yeah,
and that's the life of an artist right there in a nutshell. Finding that's the challenge, finding those people that appreciate the work you do.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think these shows are great for that. Just kind of thrusting you out there into the spotlight. Um, I hope the traffic is good. I hope this is the first show, here in Victoria. It's right in the Victoria Conference Center, right downtown. So, um, and I've heard a lot. There's a lot of great builders that are going to be there. A lot of people who have a lot of following and traction in the industry. So it'll be great to see what it's like. Yeah.
So I put out a rule today. If you're unsure of the path you're on, or if you have a myriad of choices, choose the path that has the most fun for you. So it's a good rule, I think. I think people like it simplifies that anxiety of not being unsure what to do.
Yeah.
On a personal note, right now for me, like I am literally looking for a Wendy's type job
Mhm.
because I need just something just steady enough to pay my rent.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be very much, as you can see,
Mhm.
while I keep advertising my own work and my own time and my own value. Because again, it's just part of the problem. Like you've come to the point, like you've gotten to the point, and this is just something you should be very proud of. You've gotten to the point where people not only recognize your work, but this is all you're doing, right? This
Yeah.
is this is this is you. You've
Yeah.
gotten to that point, right?
Mhm.
I'm not even there yet, but you've gotten to that point, right? I'm at the point where I can make decent money as a creative,
Mhm.
but I'm not at the point where it's such a regular thing. I don't need to go get an outside job to pay my rent,
Yeah.
right? You've
Yeah.
gotten there.
Yeah.
That in itself, that means there are people that appreciate the work you have. Like you've done a lot of the hard work already, if that makes sense. And now the rest of it for you is just putting yourself out there so you can
Mhm.
find more people. Maybe you meet someone in a band that you really admire, that they love your work, and they go, "Hey, we'll use you as a supplier every so often, like a steady." I'm assuming that's like part of the goal. Make guitars for specific bands and people that appreciate it.
Yeah.
In case of like a band or a teacher, it won't be just be one guitar, it'll be several guitars per
Mm,
person
mm,
because they're going to use them for different things. Then there's going to be people that are like I imagine there's like a collector's market too. Where there's
totally.
people that just look at that and go, I really think that's a beautiful thing. Let me have it. Like
Mm,
that, right? So you're gonna have that audience, and then you're gonna have right, and you hope more of the former than the latter, but the latter's still there and
yeah.
appreciate your work. It's just a little different.
Yeah.
And then you get someone once upon a time just like you,
Mm,
who's gonna look at that stuff and go, "I wanna make something really cool someday."
mm,
And that is gonna be, like, a really cool moment, if that makes sense. Like, that is what you're
totally.
going for. That is what this is like, that is going to be the biggest high, and it's actually one of the biggest highs you can get is when you inspire someone else. It is a huge high.
Mm,
So yeah, man, you should be very proud of where you've come from and where you're about to venture. Like you're gonna it's like you're set on this course as long as you want to sail in it, my friend.
mm,
Right? I've seen your work. It's great. I
mm,
couldn't even imagine the amount of hours and effort and practice and frustration and tears. I have this pretty looking piece. It sounds like a broken bagpipe. That's not a good thing. That's just not a good thing. Then it's like I got this beautiful, like this sounds amazing, but this looks like something that I would more like a weapon of mass destruction than what it actually sounds like. And figuring that out and how and to combine that,
yeah.
that's a beautiful piece you have there. And as we're about to shortly show you folks, it can play and he can play. So
Yeah.
that like, dude, that's respect because
Hey,
that's very much like again, that's a difficult that is a good guitar. I don't know much about guitars, but I can just kind of tell on it. Like this is a pretty it looks really cool. The woodworking, the care, the paint. Like you've put this together and you built that yourself.
yeah, not from scratch.
Yeah.
No, I resaw the lumber and do all the carving by hand and all those bevels and curves and stuff. So yeah, and
Yeah.
I've got like the open back hardware there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. Like that's legitimately amazing. That's not easy to do at all.
yeah.
And here you are doing it, you know?
Well, it's been a journey. It's been 6 years.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I get the feeling it's been a bit longer than that too, because we've
Uh,
never really talked about this.
yeah.
How did you get into music? Because I imagine your original dream was to play in front of people. I don't know if that's it.
Oh
That's oh no,
no,
no.
no. So I picked up. I picked up the my first stringed instrument um, in my last year of high school um, because I was in yearbook class, and in our we had a yearbook room, and I had to stay late after school every day because I got picked up late from school, and so I had a lot of time to kill, and someone just left a ukulele in the yearbook room. And I was, I'd finish all my homework and I'd just get bored of being on the internet. And so I just started like picking up this ukulele that belonged to no one in particular and just like messing around. And it was great. There was no one around. It was me and like the janitor. So I didn't need to worry about making noise or bad noise or good noise. It was just for me. And I started enjoying it so much that I would play like in my yearbook class, and people were like, "This is cool. This is neat." And it was one day I came into the yearbook room, and there was a sticky note on this ukulele that had a song recommendation on it, and and I was like, man, okay, I've gotten a request. And so I tried looking up how to play this song on the ukulele, and I couldn't do it. It was written for the 6-string acoustic guitar. It was like a folk song, and so I couldn't transpose it because I just didn't have it in me at that time. And so my family had just like a kind of a cheap acoustic guitar at home, and so I picked it up and just started fiddling around with it, and totally kind of fell in love with just the form of musical expression, like the creative outlet that it offered me. I'd always been an artistic guy, like doing all the drawing and sculpting and painting and whatever. um and but this felt like it tapped into a totally different part of me. Like, music is just a very powerful thing for people if you have that in you. And yeah, so I just kind of spiraled from there. Yeah, I started getting really into like these cheap acoustics that they sell in the big box stores. They don't come set up properly, so you know your strings are really high down here, so they're really hard to press down, and the bridge, the strings are also really high up here, and so you end up working like 3 times as hard as you need to play this guitar. um, and you're like, man, this is so hard. Why is this so hard? Like, it looks so easy for other people. And I got kind of obsessed with like all the setup and like how to make it play better. And so I started doing this to my own acoustic guitar. And then when I was volunteering at this thrift store over the summer after I graduated, I just kind of kept that in me, and I realized that their musical instruments weren't being worked on; they were just piling up in a bin in the back, and I was like, oh wow! So I've got all of this kind of drive to learn more, and in the perfect setting to just no consequences, just fiddle around and learn. It was like a perfect setting, um, and that's how I got into it. So yeah, it wasn't, and I just did it for me. I only played for me. I didn't really. I did it because learning a song that I knew, like at that point, I was already kind of like into music. I had started kind of gathering a collection of my favorite songs and albums, and so being able to I was just getting into Led Zeppelin at that point, and I think the first song I actually learned like a riff of was Kashmir. The ding 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 ding, and that was my first song, and I had to learn how to like retune my guitar. And yeah, yeah. So I only played for about half a year before I started getting really interested in the making of and the setup and all of this kind of behind the scenes stuff that makes a good guitar a good guitar. And I only did the setup stuff at that thrift shop for maybe a few months, 3 months, before I moved to Kelowna and started um, apprenticing with this luthier, Mike Ward, and just got dived straight into the deep end of like building them. So I kind of right from the get go knew that like I wanted to do this, and I got really lucky that the stars aligned to allow me to do that.
I think, luck? I'm not so sure it's luck.
Well, I did make it happen. I put a lot of.
Well, no. But I would go so far as to say is the intention created the opportunity for you.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You're right. I'm not sure people would have seen those empty like or these guitars being stacked up, not being worked on as an opportunity. They've been like, oh, cool. Maybe I can get one of these guitars for myself.
mm,
Right. You decide I'm going to figure out how this shit works.
yeah,
Right. And I in a place where I can learn that because nobody cares about these instruments. So
yeah,
I can screw them up and no one's going to notice. No one's going
yeah,
to care. But at the
yeah,
same time, I can learn if I make them really, really good. Right. And you're like, oh my gosh, there is an easier way to play. And you figured out what that was. And you were like, oh oh my god, it's like those little like real breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And I think the amazing thing about art too is there's a lot of different techniques as to how to get things better. There's definitely places where masters have gone before, and you can definitely follow in their footsteps.
Hmm.
But my favorite part of art in general, doesn't matter whether I'm drawing or writing, is the discovery. The
Yeah.
discovery is such a high because you
Yeah.
just learn things about the world and consequently sometimes about yourself too in the process.
Yeah.
And that's like when you're making something, I think those are the best parts of making stuff is you discover those things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very informative. Very informative. Yeah. I mean, so like of your books, do you feel like you're still learning things as much as when you started?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll never stop. I'm a better storyteller now than I was. Okay, so I can write a comic script. I did a comic script this year. That's going to be at some point. I'm going to see a completed comic for it. It's a shared universe for somebody else's stuff. That's
Mm.
cool. That was cool. Little milestone. Next month, I have a Kickstarter where I have a short story where I make. I used to be a big Magic the Gathering player, so I got to do I got to tell a Magic the Gathering esque story about
Oh,
a disgruntled Magic card. You know how Magic cards get altered sometimes for money, different arts and stuff. What if the
yeah.
card doesn't like it? And that's the story I wrote, right? And it was kind of
That's
and
so
for
funny.
and for that particular for that particular story, it was the glitter that set him off.
So
So
funny.
looks like Josh has
Got a
disappeared,
perfect
folks.
segue. I've got a perfect segue.
Yeah.
Just this last week. So I actually do magic card alters. I also play.
Oh, so you're gonna so you just I'll send you the stories a little after the show's done because I think you'll
Please
dig
do.
it.
Please do. So, and it perfectly ties in. So are you familiar with power, right? Power in
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering. People, it's like a book, you know. Some people they cherish a book. They keep it pristine. It's like a tome. It can't be desecrated. And other people they fold their pages. They, you know, they write in the shoulders and all of this stuff. And so I actually got the chance to alter a piece of power.
You put it in. Ah, that looks like Soul Ring, my friend.
That is not, that is a Mox Ruby. I don't know if
Ooh,
it really
that's
show
a
up.
classic. Oh yeah, it's a Mox, dude. That is an amazing Mox. Some Magic collectors watching this will be crying just a little bit. Others will be like, "That's fucking cool." It goes both ways, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so I just posted this on Reddit earlier, and some people are like, "Nah, how could you do that? You know, like you've ruined this perfect card." And other people are like, "Wow, like look at this. It's been like totally reborn."
Well, yeah. I mean, especially like a Mox, like of all things, the Mox,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they never made. I think they stopped making them at unlimited, right? Which is like that's an old. So they're
That's
old cards. They've
that's
never been really reimagined or redone, right?
yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, but I mean, the Moxes are fucking cool. They're classic art. Like, would I touch a Mox? No. But if I were going to alter anything of the Power 9, it would be Time Walk. Like, Time Walk would
That's
be the
cool.
card to play with because that card's insane
Yeah.
and never should have been made. And might as well just make it look like even more redonkulous when I just win the game by playing it. Hi, I win. That's what the card. Card might as well just say I win. I win for 2 mana. It's like right.
Yeah.
It's like easily one of the most powerful cards ever made. And yeah, from that same era, part of the Power 9, just like the Mox is, and just like yeah. So going back to our meta topic, which is the constant discovery and enjoyment of things.
Yeah.
I've hit this point in my creative career. I'm pretty comfortable with who I am. And what I am is someone that really just has fun telling stories. I'm not interested in telling that epic classic. Like, do I think I have that in me? Sure, why not? If the story feels like it's fun, I'll do it.
Yeah.
It's gotta feel fun. I
Yeah.
just wrote a scene with an assassin, so chapter 7, she's a young assassin, kinda like at the end of her, time working for this evil empire,
Mm,
kinda wishing she was dead, like, she had been but she's crouched and can do everything.
mm,
In the chapter 8, it's the present era of the story, she's a little older, not, like, old, but she's a little older. She feels pains in her legs doing the same crouch down she did as a kid. And she
mm,
reminisces about that as she sneaks up behind a security guard and puts him to sleep with a sleep robe. She doesn't kill him, she just puts him out.
mm,
And all the while, she's just talking about those the fact that, this didn't hurt like this didn't hurt a few years ago. Why is it hurting? And she's
mm,
like pondering that as he's just going slowly unconscious, right? In front of her. Like just where she's at in her headspace versus where she was before, right?
yeah,
I enjoy those little character things,
yeah,
right? Because it's a little funny, but also it's a little that's the stuff I'm interested in. Is because again, I've hit middle age or I'm 40. I can still do everything I did in my 20s, which is actually I think I'm very blessed with. Everything works, and I mean everything works, and I don't have any major illnesses. I can bounce around. But the biggest difference between me at 40 and me at like 30 is my recovery. My recovery at 30 was better. I went to a
mm,
metal show and it was like at the end of that, I had this pain in the back of my knee. It was like, what did I do? I'm not even like denying I did something. It's like, what was it? Because it's nothing different than what I've done in the past, right?
yeah,
So I'm 40, and this is a guy that's 40 years old going in the mosh pit. I mean, Lord knows. I mean, again, there are people that are 40 that can't even go in the damn mosh pit anymore. It's just like, but I can, right?
yeah,
So it's one of those things like that's who I am as a creative, and those discovery points, and those like I'm having fun exploring these paths in creativity, and like I said, the magic card like story came out. It's like, yeah, what if a defaced card really hated it? Because sometimes you look at those defacements and you go, oh my
they
god,
don't
they're
all look good.
horrible.
They don't all look
No, yeah. So the first line in the story is, in the end, it was the glitter that set him off. So imagine like the red, angriest, most powerful like dragons in magic history that would win games when they hit the battlefield.
Mhm,
Would you be so intimidated by that same card if it was glitter?
yeah,
Right? You just wouldn't, right? You just said, look at that. It's like, that's cute,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? So that's the story, right?
mm,
I write about silly shit sometimes, right? Silly shit in a fun way that's funny, but also hopefully maybe a little insightful. That's where I am right now.
yeah,
Tomorrow I may have that serious epic in me. And going back and like with your guitar and going like, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to tell a story. You don't ever not learn doing it. You know what I mean? And like I said, and that's just like short stories. I've done shows. I've done podcasts like these. I've done ad copy. I've just started playing with ad copy, Josh. Like I can. I'm trying to advertise people to buy my shit.
yeah,
That's telling a story too. And I'm learning all these different tricks and trades and learning different things because that's who I am. I
mm,
love to learn. I am a jack of all trades in terms of trying to tell a story. I've never dedicated myself to just one style because I'm just dedicating myself to telling the best story I can, however I'm capable of doing it. And that's me. I mean, that's where I'm at. And I mean, I'm writing novels, I'm writing comic stuff, and I love that stuff. But I also can be like quote unquote pragmatic. I can write ad copy. I can do transcriptions. I can do little essay stuff. What I've moved away from this year is a little bit is freelance writing articles to write about writing. Not because I don't mind doing them, but just frankly, I want more money. Number one, and number two, at this moment, they're not interesting to me anymore.
yeah,
Right? I'm in a different headspace. I
mm,
could keep writing articles, but the truth of the matter is I wanna actually write if I'm gonna go into freelancing a little deeper, I wanna write, like, denser stories,
yeah,
research, practice,
yeah,
and also get paid for it, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's where I am, right? But that's where I am today. Tomorrow, I could be like Dr. Seuss, Josh. I could just take 50 words and break it down and do terrible, terrible drawings, right, of the whole process. Right? I'll come up with a version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that'll make people laugh their asses off. Just what you see on the page. You're like, this juxtaposition shouldn't work, but it does, and I'm in all the way. It's like, yeah, you are. Take that, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Right? But that could be me tomorrow. And the thing is, here's the hilarious part. You can see that. Like, you could see
I
that about me.
yeah.
Totally could. Right? I
For the
have the
people,
imagination and the whimsy for it.
this
Right?
is
That's
the
because.
fourth time I've been on the podcast now. This is the
Pardon?
fourth time I've been on the podcast now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I have gotten to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
It
So
makes sense.
yeah. But that's like but to answer your question, it's a constantly evolving process.
Mhm.
I mean, you've drawn on the show 3 times. You've seen my art progress in 3 times. It's not the
Yeah.
same even now,
Yeah.
right? And tomorrow it won't be the same either.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing about art is it's a constant process. And the deeper I get into it, the more I realize is that I'm never going to fully understand this.
Mm.
But some people might be overwhelmed by that, but I think that's damn cool.
Yeah.
That means there's always going to be places to go and see. Now, the only way the journey ends is maybe at some point I fell out of love with this and do something else. I want to fall in love with something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a bad thing though? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it's just as long as you're like comfortable in yourself rather than like in the work that you do, like you're more than the work that you do, then you can do whatever you want. Um, if your identity is invested in what you make and what you do, the work that you make that you do, then there's all kinds of trouble that can come with that.
Oh,
Existentially.
absolutely. I'm definitely in my older age is probably going to get in deeper and deeper trouble as time goes on, but it will be totally and wholly me, and I'll be okay with it.
Oh man.
The thing is, you don't even doubt this. Like I can tell it's like the way I said that. You say, yeah, that fits. That totally fits him.
You think like what do you think is gonna
I think with the way the world is going, like this is something I realize something is the world as we know it, just in the last 2 years has taught me that if you stand for stuff, whatever you choose to stand for, people who even like you aren't going to necessarily agree with everything you say or feel.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to talk like the big scape of the world, one of the things I realized in the last 2 years is that there is no government or business I believe that has any integrity whatsoever. It's just a personal. It's just something. It's a personal conclusion I came to, and not everybody will look at maybe the same way I do. But what I realize is if a government doesn't have integrity or competency, that means that what is right and wrong in the world is literally going to be a whim. And if you stand for anything or believe in anything, right, you're going to be ostracized by that whim sooner or later. You just are, right? And then I realized, and then this is just a personal thing inside my head. It's just like, there's going to be times where people are going to completely think you're off your fucking rocker. And my first response is, what else was new? But the second response, the second response, um, but the second response was this: like the real test of who you are as a person in this world is what do you stand for, and are you willing to fight for it, even if the world disagrees with you? And I realized for me, the answer in the right situations would be yes.
Mhm.
It just would be. And that's going to mean that probably down the road, that sooner or later, like the whims of the world and whatever my principles are, they're not going to be the same. They're going to diverge.
Mm.
And will I have the courage to keep to whatever my principles are
Mm.
in the face of that?
Mm.
Right? That's again, maybe I'm crazy seeing it that way, but that's how I see it. Right? I think everybody has to realize, I think at some point that like, what are your thoughts? What are your beliefs? What do you stand for? What do you believe? And where do those thoughts come from? And why do you believe these things to be so? And if you that's an exploration I think art for all of us kind of explores.
Mm.
Um, to the point that they're not that no one again, no one sees the world the exact same way either. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I actually think that's a great thing. I would not want the world to be entirely how I see it. That would be a depressing world. It really would be because I mean, that would mean I am all knowing and all seeing. And I've accepted the fact, Josh, that I can be wrong about shit. It
Mhm.
happens on
That's
a
good.
regular basis. Yeah. Crushed my ego, like to some extent. Like ego crush, but a good crush. Right? It
Yeah.
was just like but that means that there's always going to be things to learn and discover and see, and
Yeah.
there always will be. That's
Yeah.
great,
Yeah. I,
right? So, but you do have to stand. I think everybody has to stand for stuff,
yeah.
whatever that is for you. Whatever that we can't be so bendy to whim. At some point, it's like, okay, I stand for this,
Mm.
and no matter what that costs me, no matter what this is what I believe. I
Mm.
think we all need that, right? We need that open mindedness to acknowledge that the world doesn't revolve around us.
Mhm.
But we also need that resolve that whatever we do believe in, we can hold on to that until we are and be wise enough to see when we're wrong, but be courageous enough to stand for something, even if the rest of the world says we're wrong. Like
Yeah.
that, there's a balance there, and I've
Mhm.
hit that, and I kind of crossed that threshold of there are just things I'm willing to stand for,
Yeah.
and there are things I won't, and the world might disagree with me. That's okay.
Yeah.
Meh. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. And that's why, is that why you think you're gonna go crazy in your old
Oh,
age?
I'm already crazy.
You think you're gonna
I'm
become
already crazy, my friend. I just acknowledge it. I do think down the road, just the way things are, I do think that there's going to be a big divide for a lot. I not gonna go too deep. Not gonna go too deep into this because I don't really want to do politics
yeah.
too much. But the one thing the truckers protest or whatever you want to call it showed is that there are some deep problems in the country and
Mhm.
how we see the world, how Canadians even see their own country
Mm.
is very different.
Mm.
So, and I don't think that's going to be the last such incident. Something like this will happen in Canada. I think it's going to might become more of a regular thing.
Mm.
So, whether you agree with what they did or not, that's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is you can see that there is a divide.
Yeah.
And there's an irreconcilable difference how some people see it. Like I see it as a protest more than anything else. Whether you agree with me or not, that's cool. I'm not debating that. Some
Mm.
people would say that's an act of terror. Some people would say it was something else, somewhere in between that.
Mm.
And again, that's but the results of that, of how things played out, pretty much have told me that almost certainly these events are going to keep happening because we
Mm.
never really dealt with any of the issues raised with that. And so that's something I realize. And that's something I can see in the immediate future in Canada, right? That's something that we're going to have to deal with. Whatever, again, but that's one example. There's others too. And like these choices we've made, not just that one, but other choices we've made in the last few years, I think so what those choices have created and what has reared its head is going to force it's going to force a very it's going to force a very by its very nature those events have forced a fracture in how people see them.
Yeah.
So the question is now, is there a place where we can have an open dialogue to discuss these things when we do disagree? Or
Mm.
are we just going to put people in a box because we don't share that worldview or we don't like this thing?
Mhm.
Right, and that is something I kind of see, and this is, I think this is definitely something in Canada where I see it's like, yeah, this is something that's going to keep happening for that reason. So Right? Again, not really going about interpretation, but like stuff like this has kind of showed me it's like how I see things, how maybe the rest of the world see things, how other people see things. There's going to be more division on this as time goes on, not less.
Mm.
And we never really hit. And what worries me is we never really hit a place of honest dialogue about those things this
Mm.
time. So next time, will we get to that point of honest dialogue, or won't we? And if so, we'll just keep continuing on and on and on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 No, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Like again, this doesn't necessarily have to be a political thing, but something I realize is I'm going to take stands on things.
Mm.
And people I love and respect are going to disagree with some of the things I take stands on. And
Mm-hmm.
some people are going to love what I do. Same thing. They're going to love it. And other people are going to be somewhere. Some people aren't going to give a shit either way. Those people are probably going to be my favorite people of the whole bunch in some way, some ways, to be honest.
Mm.
Right. But that's the thing is, as I get older, I realize it's not my job to fit in. It's my job to stand out. It's the
Mm.
nature of art. It's the nature of, but when you stand out, that's what you get. You get both. You get people that absolutely love what you do, and you get people that absolutely hate what you do.
Right.
And that's when you know you're doing it right, ironically enough.
Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting perspective. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's also, the more like, I guess, the field that you're standing out in does play a role in how polarizing it can be. I mean,
Mhm.
but yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, if you're standing out in the fine art world, like, and you're super famous, there's going to be a lot of people being like, your art is crap. Why is like this isn't real art,
Absolutely.
kind of thing. And then there's going to be fanatic people who are like, I'm going to buy a painting for $17 million. Whoa. When's the next one available?
So I brought this up on the podcast. I don't know with you, but with others. Howard Stern figured out the concept of polarity in the late 80s. What
Okay.
he did was he brought lesbians onto the show, onto his radio show. Now,
Mm.
the thing about you got to remember about that time is lesbianism wasn't like homosexuality wasn't like, the big thing, like as accepted then as it was now. And so it created this like polarizing, this fucking asshole, what is he doing on set on doing? Some people loved what he was doing.
Yeah.
The reason why I know like he made his money off the people that didn't love him more
Mm.
than he made off the people that did love him.
Mm.
They listened to his show longer. They
Mm.
formed more opinions about him. So basically, the people that hated him paid for the advertising, right? Paid for his advertising, so the radio stations made a shit ton of money with him,
Mm.
right? That's what it taught me. So it's just like, so if you get to the point where people hate what you do, well, then you really have done something right, because chances are they're the ones that are actually watching every single fucking thing you're doing, and they're the ones that are buying all your shit just so they can bitch about you.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. They did a there is a net, like an early net, like when he was at his absolute heyday, they did a statistical analysis of the people that listened to his show. People that liked his show listened to it for about 45 minutes. People that hated his show listened to it for closer to 2 hours.
Mm.
So, what does that tell you, right? And again, the last quote unquote political thing I'm going to touch: Donald Trump. Love him or hate him. That's not what we're talking about. But if you want to look at the people who talked about Trump the most were the people who hated him.
Mm-hmm.
I know, because I looked at my Facebook page every fucking day, and there was someone would say, "That son of a bitch, Trump did this or that. Oh my God, he's crazy." And it was the people that hated him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking, and I'm thinking to these people, if you hate him so much, why are you talking about him? Just that's his power. But that's why
Mm.
CNN was able to make money for like more money than it ever did in 4 years, was because he was there. So, I mean, CNN kind of wishes Trump was back, kind of just a little bit, so they could make more money again, right? It's a weird thing. It's a weird fucking thing, but it's the truth. I think really famous people, like really famous people, like okay, we'll go musically here. Do you remember like I remember like Backstreet Boys, and this is like I'm old, folks. Shut up. I know, right? But I remember there's that point where they came out, they were really really good, right? Or they were really really popular, and everybody started fuck these guys. I hate their music, right? We all do this. Like a really popular band's like, fuck them. Why am I listen to them again? I hate their shit. Right? Happens all the time. Well, those guys don't care. It's like, thanks. Yeah, it's just like
Well, it's the viral thing, right? Like if you do something so, I mean, like what about um like that, what was it, Rebecca Black's Friday?
yes.
I remember when that came out, and I was in school. I don't remember when in school, but it was everywhere, and people didn't
Yes.
like it. People didn't like it. It wasn't because that they were like, "Oh, wow, this amazing artistry and musicality that went into the song, that it deserves this much attention." It was because it was like so. It was so on the point of like where culture was at that point in time, and it was just like
It just
it
hit.
just hit the right nerve, and it just went wild, and people just couldn't get enough of it. And it's funny now, it's so easy to miss that mark too.
It's inch. It's a game
Yeah,
of
yeah,
inches. It's literally a game of inches, my friend.
yeah. Because I mean, I don't know if you know this, but actually Rebecca Black released another Friday.
She didn't know. I'm aware of it. I actually I haven't listened to it yet, but I actually am. There is a part of me. It's like, am I
It's an
strong enough to
education.
resist listening to this?
I went I you know, I listen to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of different kinds of music. And one thing that I don't listen to is pop music. I Something about it, it just makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel uncomfortable with like just myself and the society, and it's something about it. I'm not sure. But every once in a while, usually once a year, I'll go on a binge. And I'll just be like, because I figure I'm in the music industry, I need to know what's out there. I need to know like what people are playing, what's popular. I need to just have some touchstone on what's going on. And so I'll just dive right in. Like all these YouTube videos with 65 million views, and and it's wild, man. It's wild. And this new Rebecca Black Friday thing, I managed to find this later on in my binge. It's just like, wow. It's just the way culture moves and ebbs and flows and grows. It's so interesting. It's so interesting to me.
Oh, I don't think there's a really like you can to some degree predict it, but like I know why you hate pop music, by the way, and I don't think it's all pop music, but I think I know why you hate it
Okay.
because pop music by itself is probably the most formulaic and manufactured music you listen to.
Yeah.
Now, it's not always the case, mind you. I think there are some really good exceptions to it. Like some of the, what I would call like the mid list musicians that do pop style music,
Yeah.
they do interesting stuff. I
Yeah. Yeah.
like again, I like Lights. I'm a big Lights fan. She kind of does her own thing. I really dig it. But there's definitely like a pop synthetic vibe to some of the stuff she does. Not everything, but
Mm-hmm.
you can hear her voice in her music. So
Mm.
that's why it's really I don't mind it. I usually sometimes will write to it.
Mm.
I actually try. I said she's on my like she's like there's 10 people on my list of people I really want to interview for the show. She's on it because she's so creative. I really enjoyed it. I'm a fan. I'm okay with this. Right. But there's a manufacturedness to it for when you look at Miley Cyrus, for example.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's not talented. That's not what I'm saying. But when you look at, say, a Wrecking Ball,
Mm.
right? It's a formula. I've seen this a zillion fucking times, right? And it's a formula. It's a manufactured formula. This is designed to feel. This is the problem. Like when you're in art, you can actually understand how this shit works a little bit, right?
Right.
Right. When you can literally I hate it when it's so predictable that I can figure out where everything's going, right? And I have no questions. If I have no questions, then I'm done. Like that twist, I don't mind having it like having a desired outcome be an expectation. Listen, majority of music song are really two things. Boy, my girlfriend is fucking amazing, or my girlfriend is a nightmare. Right? Like, a lot of music is a variation of those two themes. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, right? People have made careers off of this. Or if they're female musicians, like my significant other is a fucking nightmare, or my yeah, like there's a it's there are expectations. Like if my girlfriend's a nightmare, I'm expecting that the girlfriend to thing to just slowly kill you. Like by the time you get to the end of the song, you're like, "Good God, you poor son of a bitch," right? Or if my girlfriend's awesome, it's like you lucky bastard, man.
Yeah.
And right, and there's like variations of it, right? But that's just
It's
that's
funny how
the
true you are. It's funny.
Yeah. Alice Cooper did a comic book thing, right? He goes, yeah, 90% of the songs are my girlfriend's amazing, or my girlfriend is the fucking shits. It works because people get it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? And it's true. Even like it doesn't matter what the genre is. It like the best stuff are love stories. We want stories about love and romance, and we like that. We're human beings. We want that shit. It's great.
yeah.
But if I get this like really poppy, catchy lyrics, I'm going down in hysterics or some kind of bullshit like that. And I hear these, it's like, oh God, stop. Just stop. Just no. Just like you cross this line. Like and some and hey, listen, I don't fault their paychecks, but I'm at the same time, it's just like you look at those paychecks like, really? This? Right? It's then especially in today's music culture where you can go down the Spotify rabbit hole and you
Right.
can literally find just some amazing stuff. I found an Alice in Wonderland song from a band I never heard of that's just beautiful.
Oh,
Just super, super beautiful song. And it was just like, that's cool. Like there's so much art in unlikely places. Again, there's treasures
yeah.
out there. You just gotta look and find them. Right? Um, but
I had a
that's
I had a very interesting conversation the other day with a friend of mine who the role of the artisan in culture, how in the past and during the Renaissance and before that, the it was more about the art being made than it was who is making the art. You know, Michelangelo and Don, all of these famous Renaissance artists, they had resumes, and it would be, uh, you know, they're designing architecture, and I can do your house for you, and I can paint a mural, and I can do some sculpture too, and it was just a wide range of these things because it wasn't just like I'm on the pinnacle of this one thing and that people worship me for doing this. It was just that people came to them for work, and there was a certain respect for the art over the individual. And nowadays that's been flipped, where it feels like now you need to be famous to be financially successful, performing or doing galleries or whatever. um, and it seems like all the pressure is has been put onto um, the name and the artist behind the work rather than really them just creating artwork for the sake of the craft. It seems like um, I'm not sure if I got that exactly, but
no.
it's a very interesting topic that like I think it was just because I was talking to a fellow who I did a guitar repair for, and and he was very, it was just the kind of the model perfect customer. It's just do what needs to be done. I'll send you the money. I want to pay you well. And so that really opens the doors to do good work, right? And so I was doing all this work on his acoustic guitar, and I ended up finding, you know, under the nut there was a piece of cardboard used to raise the nut up because it was too low, and under the bridge there was also like a couple pieces of plastic that had been cut out to lift up the bridge because it was, just these are shoddy kind of workmanship things that shouldn't be done. That's not good practice. It's not going to create an optimal sound for you. And so I pointed these out. It's like, okay, this is going to be more work for me. I'm still getting paid the same amount because I've already been sent the money, but I'm going to fix this because I want this person's guitar to really kind of like do the job the best that it can. And after, when I was talking with him, he was just so impressed. He was so happy that I did these little things to honor the guitar and the sound and what it's going to be used for. Um, he just thought that that was so spectacular that you would do that little bit extra that maybe no one would notice. Um, but the person doing the work will know that they've done a good job.
So you went two prongs. I want to kind of address both
Sure.
because
Yeah.
whether you realize this or not, it's the same thing. It's just I think here's the thing. You actually did build your name up doing that,
Oh,
and
I
here's
know.
yeah, you know that, right?
Yeah.
But do you know why?
Do I know why?
Yeah, do you know why?
I think my reasoning is I want to put out stuff that I'm proud of and other people can be proud of. I don't want to I don't want to build a guitar as fast as possible and for as cheap as possible so that I can build as many as possible over my lifetime. I want to build as
Quality.
many guitars as I can build as best as I can. And if that makes it, you know, a third of the amount, if I was like just trying to crank them out, then that's totally fine by me because I'm putting
Okay.
something good out into the world rather than something like mediocre.
All right. I'm gonna go. Like I know I that mindset's amazing.
Thank you.
But I don't I no, it's a great mindset. It really is. But what I wanted to ask you why
Mm.
is I was curious if you knew what the side effect to that was. And you don't. You don't fully it doesn't seem like you
Well,
don't
it
fully get
it's good for me because it builds a good reputation for good work. Um, and people who recognize these little things will come to me for that because they know that I do good work. And of course that's good for me, but it's also good for the people that I do the work for.
Mhm. But you're on the right track, but you're
Okay,
not quite there.
okay,
You're on the right track though. You're not quite there.
go for it.
So we'll go back to the first part. So this I think this actually ties in. You had that is some of the best. This is gonna sound really lame. I'm sorry. This is gonna sound really lame, but you have some of the best customer service I've ever seen.
Okay.
And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. It isn't that your philosophy of quality, this is true of any art. If we're going to look at it from strictly a business standpoint, okay?
Yeah.
Why do most businesses suck? Like in terms of because their service is terrible,
Yeah.
right? Their service, like sometimes if you look at it like a big franchise, we'll just say Tim Hortons. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
not saying Tim Hortons is a terrible place, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to using this as an example here. You go in, they serve you. Now, they're most of the time they're pleasant people, but because the onus is on speed,
Yeah.
the quality of their service is not as good as when you go to something a little bit more extravagant.
Yeah.
why do you pay? Like, the theory behind Starbucks was this. Yeah, our coffee's fucking expensive compared to Tim Hortons, but our service is quicker. Now, it's not always the case. Now, Starbucks, so it got to a certain point, but that was when they initially started. That was their theory, right? Look at some of the, like, the smaller business coffee shops. There's a place I go to in Canmore called Blondie's. I like the service there, but I like the people there too. I'm familiar with the people. I've established a relationship with them, and as such, I've created a place that's really, really good. The flip side is, right, the absolute flip side to that, though, is it's because her service was so good, right? She'd talk to you, she'd be reasonable, she'd reach out. You get a conversation that you wouldn't get at Tim Hortons or Starbucks or any of these other places. So in a very special way, more so than the food, which was amazing as well, I was getting serviced in a way that a lot of other places didn't. You're doing the same thing with your guitar. And going back to your meta topic, names matter more, yes. The reason why is why you're on the show. I mean, if you really sit there and think about it, it's like, would you have done something like this even 5 years ago? Probably not. Why? Why are you doing this now? There's a lot of good stuff out there, and you have to do something to put your name out there.
Yeah.
Right? That's why advertising is so important for any business.
Yeah.
Right? Is because you're advertising that here I am, I'm awesome and made of cheese. Like, it sounds like really, really lame, but that's why. That's why name has become so valuable. And in art too. Art's no different.
Yeah.
Holy shit, there's a Brandon Sanderson book down there. Holy shit, there's a Stephen King. Holy crap, there's a Danielle Steele. Right?
Yeah.
People know those names. Those are names. Those are brands.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part about that too, it's the service. Right? It's the service. Service in the book world is an amazing book that makes you feel things. That's what we pay for.
Yeah.
I paid $50 for Dark Tower 7. I don't give a I just remember that. I don't give a fuck about the price.
Yeah.
I was weeping like a baby because it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever read when I got to the very end of it. It made me cry. Like great, like, moved me in ways few stories have.
Yeah.
I'd do that again. That's service. What you're doing with the so I think name has to matter a little bit. As much as we don't necessarily like, as an artist, we don't like hearing that. The truth of the matter is, right, there are slow pieces of us that are our brand.
Oh yeah.
It just is.
Oh yeah.
You can't, and especially in an age of professional wrestling and, or, let me tell you something, brother. At this guitar, brother, is amazing, brother. Gonna go out there, brother, and it's gonna rock your world in ways you never imagined, there, brother. Right? We live in a world where those kind of sales and places and people, right, are real. It just is, right? So you got to deal with that noise somehow, some way. So you got to be a little loud. Today you got to be a little loud, but you don't necessarily have to be loud in the sense of my shit is better than your shit. No, I do this quality stuff. What's happened today, though, is name does not trump service. It just doesn't. A good book. I can be as yellow as I want. My books are amazing. If someone reads my book and goes, well, that was shit, they ain't coming back.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I can only do the best I can. Right? I think one of the reasons, this is going to go back to Friday really quick. One of the reasons why I think Friday caught on the way it did was, yeah, it was synthetic and cheesy and almost it's cringeworthy in some ways. On the other hand, it took a lot of balls to put that out there, right? Like, it really did. Like, let's be honest, it took a lot of balls to do that. And
you release Friday, that's the rest of your life, right?
Like, yeah, exactly. 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 It takes balls, man. It really does, right? So there was something genuine about it. And that's why it caught on. Yes, it was terrible. Yes, it was a lot of things. But there's something genuine about it. Like, there's something about that was genuine.
Mm.
and it caught on. Um, but in terms of you, in terms of your guitars, in terms of art in general, the game is about service
Mhm.
and quality, and service is in art is usually a degree of quality of some kind.
Mm.
The fact that you're taking the extra work, you performed an amazing feat of customer service to that gentleman,
Mm.
and he noticed.
Mhm.
That boy's coming back.
Mm. Mm.
You'd say, I made a guitar, he might be one of the first to buy it
Mm.
because he saw your service on his stuff. He can only imagine what you would do with yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 It's yeah, it's just a good practice. I
Mhm.
and, you know, when I was saying the thing with like you know, artistry in the past, like being more about the craft than the artist and more in the present day, like I guess of course like there's a balance. Like it's not like one is inherently evil and the other is inherently good. I think it's just an interesting trend that we're seeing. Like as the population explodes and there's more and more competition, um, you have to stand out a little bit,
Mhm.
or else you're just lost in the crowd, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, I just think it's unfortunate that you know people maybe greed drives people to do something maybe ridiculous for money rather than just creating something beautiful because they have something to offer.
Hmm. That's a bit loaded. Let's try this.
Okay.
I will I can't begrudge anybody making a living however they choose to make a living in art.
Okay.
It's a tough you know this, it's a tough business.
Mm.
I'm going back to Wendy's because I'm not quite tough enough yet, or I'm not quite hit that point of but again, I can make 4 figures as a freelancer now, which is really
Mm.
fucking cool.
Mhm.
And I did it with my big mouth. Who the hell knew, right? I mean, who knew, right? But the thing is it's hard. And because it's so hard, because it's such a difficult thing to do,
Mm.
I can't force people to um I can't begrudge someone doing something for a buck, especially in art because of how tough it is.
Yeah.
But what I think is it's like there are gourmet meals, then there's McDonald's,
Mhm.
right? I don't wanna eat McDonald's the rest of my life. I like chicken McNuggets once in a while. I get, like, a little craving once in a while for chicken McNuggets,
Yeah.
but I don't eat McDonald's on a regular basis. I just don't,
Yeah.
because McDonald's, like, it's like you've seen some of their french fries are still in a shelf life that hasn't broken down, and that's a bit frightening to me.
Yeah.
Just is a little bit, and that's just it. Like, there is a desire to promote what's McDonald's as, like, top tier, and that's not the truth. But we live in a world today where and again, so it's like I'm kind of 50-50 torn on this. I think most artists are underpaid, and I think there's some like, that's bigger issues than what this podcast is gonna be about.
Mhm.
There's some bigger issues about that. Part of that is I think artists undervalue their own work by
Mm.
and large. I'm probably with you, right? Your price point for your guitar was probably a struggle for you.
It was at the start.
Yeah.
It was for sure.
Yeah, and then one
Yeah.
of the reasons why is, like, there's an audacity to it, right?
Mhm.
There's an audacity to it.
Mhm.
On one hand, on the other hand, no, you put so much work, time, care, effort, energy into it, you're damn right you're gonna pay. There are things I will do, like, I can do an audiobook. I don't do them cheap. I
Mhm.
realize there are cheaper options out there, but I'm just not gonna do them cheap.
Yeah.
I know the work that goes into them, so
Mhm.
I'm not fucking doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. Like I'm at that. I'm at like I'm 50-50 on the whole. I'm working on trying to make my creative my using my creative talents to make me money.
Hmm.
So I don't begrudge anybody for doing the same, however they do it. There is a certain integrity in work though that needs to be observed no matter what you choose to do.
Yeah.
And if that integrity is not observed, or that authenticity at least is not observed, then you lose it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. I think that's what I was kind of trying to touch on.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going like strictly on a business sense, I do agree with you that name value over service ultimately is being pushed more. I
Hmm.
would say that name recognition is part of the beast. It just is. And I think I don't think it's a bad thing to have a good advertising game on top of your art game. I just think that you can't have an advertising game, right, without without something to back it up.
Yeah.
Right? You just
Yeah.
not, right? You're just not. Like, you're just gonna get murdered out there. You just are. Right?
Hmm.
It's just I'm just being honest about that. So, but it's a tough balance. It really, really is. If you're trying to turn your art into a business of some kind, I mean, you have to kind of measure what's important to you,
Yeah.
right? But in your case, you're not interested in a giant crowd of people buying your stuff. I mean, that would be nice. Maybe the endless nights making those guitars might drive you a little crazy, but that's right. But what you're interested in is you're making a good quality work that people that really know appreciate, which is a very specific audience.
Hmm.
And as such, you put your absolute heart into it, and you will be compensated by those people because they will appreciate the work you put into it.
Yeah.
And strictly on a business level, that's a good niche to get yourself into if you can. Like, that's actually a very smart way as an artist to do business.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I've yeah. I
J-
just it's become clear over time, like exactly where I need to be and the work that I need to do. And yeah, there's all kinds of examples I could give you of why that's the case. But
Oh no, oh absolutely. We all have those nightmares, buddy. Like, we've talked about a few of them off the air too a little bit. I know. It's like the war of an artist, ladies and gentlemen, in this world is what artists fail to understand is yes, every work is valuable. All of it is.
mm,
And you're valuable as a result. But in this world, you have to fight for that worth, whatever that worth is. And you can do that a whole bunch of different ways. You can scream it to the rooftops, and we all need to do that a little bit. But we also just need to do great work, whatever that work is, whatever we choose to make that work be.
mm, mm, yeah, I do think that in line with tying together worth and work, I don't think that you need to create beautiful things
No.
or be a master of your craft in order to achieve worth. I don't think that you need to earn worth um, for just personal mental health reasons. I think in the terms of a business, you have to prove yourself and acquire that, but that you should keep it separate. That you are worthy of love and friendship and all the good things in life, just as a baseline, and then you add to that your own personal satisfaction um, by doing things that you love and by putting out good things. Um, that's just a personal belief of mine. I don't think you
No,
need.
I agree with you. I actually okay, if you want to talk strictly art, like for the art for the sake of thing, there's value no matter what level you're at. Hey, look, man, you said this. Look at where yes, my drawings evolved quite a bit, but I still don't think I'm that good yet. I'm
Mm.
just having fun with it.
Mhm.
There's value in that, right?
Absolutely.
There's total value in that. I've been
Absolutely.
paid, by the way, I've made more money selling my pictures this year than I did last year. I made like
Yeah.
$10 last year. I've already made like 30, which is
Well,
kind of like that's just a weird and it's not something I set out to do. It's just something that happened, right?
yeah.
Right. So I'm not at the highest skill level at all. I'm just fucking around and having fun.
Yeah.
But that's and like I said, and I've learned that it's okay to suck. And you
Yeah.
can suck in front of everybody too. That's also wonderful in its own way. I actually kind of thoroughly enjoy it. It's like, let's see how bad this can be or how much fun this can be. And you're laughing because you just know it's like that's it's me, right? But
It's
that's why
it's
it
I,
works.
I'm laughing because it's so wonderful. It's so
Yeah.
wonderful that, I feel like the world would be a better place if everyone took themselves just a little bit less seriously.
I agree. And don't get me wrong, like I mean what I say, I have an ego. I do. It's
Mhm.
just I'm honest enough about it. Like I've had a 3-year-old hold my show hostage. Like that puts your place in the world like nailed down really well. Like there are things that just keep me I reminds me to stay humble,
Right.
right? There just is, right? But I will fight for my worth and I will go against and I will just fight with people that are constantly um I've told the story a few times. So this podcast broke. It had its first 2,000 download week, or very close to a 2,000 download week, about a month ago, which is
Mm.
really cool. It's like that's in a week, not a month, a week. This week has been kind of like one of my worst weeks in a long time. But I
Mm.
figure it's just karma balancing out like a really amazing like week versus like you gotta have one of these. It's also Easter, so Easter is still kind of messing up with the schedules and the holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what it comes down to is, I realize like there's worth in that. My show has been entertaining enough that people listen to it on a regular basis.
Mm.
I've done nearly 775 of these, my friend. You're 774. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That's
And you know, I again, there's value in what I've done. This has opened doors to me to do other things. So I had a PR firm. I've done this story a few times on the show recently, but I think this is a very valuable lesson to anybody listening to this. So I have relationships with some PR companies for music and writing, and sometimes they throw me guests on the show every so often. So what's happened with um what happened with they came to me and I was like a friend of mine recommended me to them, and they started talking about getting a guest on my show, which is like that was the initial thing, and then next thing you know, they want me to they just do their whole spiel of getting all their guests on my show. I'm like, okay, I'm interested in this, and then they go to me, but we want you to put our logo on your show,
Mm.
and I'm like, that's a sponsorship thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is no longer me helping you guys out. This is sponsorship.
Mhm.
So they try to talk me into this, like they talk me into like, oh, we'll share your stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really need that at this point in my career. At this, like, I got an audience. I love exposure, but I don't do things for exposure at this point in my life, right? Um, so what's happened is so I researched them up. I looked them up. They're a PR marketing firm. They're making money advertising their careers. It's like, okay, you can afford to pay me. So I
Mhm.
sent them a proposal.
Mhm.
Also, the other thing that really got me about them too is a couple of their press releases were longer than a page. They were like 3 pages. It was like I don't think the press releases are that good. But anyway, I digress. So I made a proposal for what I would do for the show. I gave them a charge. What I think the show would have been worth to put their logo on my show. and I made an arrangement. Then I did a proposal of, I'll still take interview your clients, but on my terms, which is what I do with most PR firms I have, right? And then the third option offered to pay the press releases. So I got one of the most intricate no's I've ever gotten in my life. It was beautiful though. I was laughing the whole time because it was just like, because again, I know what my worth is, right? I have a big enough ego to understand what my worth is. So if someone's going to come to me and go, "Hey, I want to advertise on your show," okay, right? And the fact is, I posted my numbers when I hit that milestone. So it's not like I can't deny that. It's not like I can't show those numbers. So it's not like, so it's like I know what I can offer. I know what I can do. Now it's about again being a businessman, okay? And I have the courage to be a businessman about my art. And a lot of artists struggle with that. It's just a real struggle because you don't do the work for this. You do it because you love it. But what I ultimately realize is that if I don't have this a little bit of this attitude, I can't protect the thing I love, which is the
Yeah,
work itself.
that's really a good piece of advice there.
Yeah. That's it. That's why your prices are going to be where they're at, because you're not just because of your time effort, because you love what you do, and you're
Yeah.
going to protect that above all else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're
I
gonna
really
kick some
like
ass. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Like, for those people listening, if you're listening or you're watching, your worth is always worth fighting for. And some of the tactics you see a lot of people do, they may seem ruthless, but what it actually is, they love what they do, and they'll be damned if you let anyone take that from them. So, right? So that's what this is about. And to people that try to abuse artists, you're the fucking problem. If you wanted a better attitude, compensate these people at the start what they're worth.
Yeah.
If you did that, you wouldn't have this attitude at all. This attitude exists because of people like you.
Yeah.
You're like, that's a, am I right? Or am I
You're
right? Right? So,
totally right, man.
yeah.
I love that. I can't get over that. If anyone, I've been really good so far. People really respect
Oh,
the
yeah.
work that I've done so far, and they expect the price that comes with it. But I know that if anyone, comes up negging on me, like, this is over, it's too much, or it's not worth this, I love what I do. This is how I'm gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, that's it.
That's very profound.
That's
Yeah.
it. It's that simple. Right? It's that simple. That's why.
Yeah.
And that's why, folks, I charge $2,000 for an audiobook. Because I'm the damned if I'm going to do it for anything less than that.
Yeah.
Right? That's why, if I like you, my Kickstarter rate to advertise for you, running your whole campaign is around $2,500. That's if I like you. Right? Because it's a lot of work, and I want to be appreciated for the work I do. And in this world, this is one of the things I've learned as a freelancer is people respect what they pay for. They just do.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, and different. That's just the way the world is. So I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's have some fun. You got a guitar. You should probably play something. I need to shut up for a few minutes. So why don't you do that?
So yeah, all of these guitars are how should I start? Should I just play something? Just give, I don't have like full songs that I can
Well,
perform.
you don't need to do full songs. How about we do this? Play something that comes to mind, and then talk a little bit about your guitars.
Okay, yeah,
That's that
I'll
right?
kind of run through the different guitars and give some
Yeah.
different sounds and kind of like we can talk
Mhm.
about them. So this I built 3 guitars for the show. 2 of the same model and 1 of a different model, and I'll kind of like go through the differences as I play them. Um, yeah, let's just get get right in there. So the way I set up the controls, this guitar has 2 pickups, and I've got 1 volume control, 1 tone control, and you can select between the 3 pickups. And then this tone control splits the pickups. So you've got 2 humbuckers, and then you can split them so that they're both set to being just single coils. So you can get more of like just a clean. And then, of course, we get onto they do the thing. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I like there's a number of different ways that you could like push your kind of your genre. What you think, what kind of music do you think your guitars are going to play? I personally am very inspired by sort of where do I think things are going? Like, what is the next thing for guitar? Um, who are the people creating music in this day and age who are really being extremely creative and are very talented and trying new things rather than just kind of recreating things that have sort of already been done or just expanding on things that have already been done. So part of the way the you know making these guitars, they're headless. They have no headstock. So the shape is different than what you see on most guitars because the design needs to change. You need to have access to the bridge because this is where you're going to tune the guitar rather than up here. Um, so already it just looks different. It looks like preconceptions is a very powerful thing in music. If you're a musician and you pick up a guitar, and I'm guilty of this too, that you know that this guitar has blues in it or rock in it or jazz in it, that's the kind of stuff that you want to play. um, and so when I built my first guitar, I wanted to make something that was going to be just a blank slate for me. This is the first guitar that I made kind of like of my own design. And I didn't want it to look like, anything else out there. I wanted it to be really, really unique and sound also, just very, very different than what I'm used to. And the result of that is that when you pick up the guitar, you just naturally, for me at least, start writing new stuff. It just comes out rather than playing things that you think it should play. It's kind of it's like it just opens the gateway for creativity in my eyes. And so that's that's so inspiring to me. I want to make tools for people who are gonna do the same, who are gonna kind of like push out new and creative stuff. I think that that's just so fantastic. So this is the next guitar. It's the same model as the previous one, but the scale length is a little bit longer. So it's got the distance from here to here is a little bit longer, and that changes a few things. Um, but the setup is the same, and the woods are different. Do you notice this difference in the sound?
It's a little bit different.
It's a little bit
It's
different. They feel very different to play.
yeah. Um, no, there is a difference in the sound. This is where my lack of layman. This is me being a layman. It actually holds against me. It feels like the first one kind of feels like the sound's more compact. This
Mm,
one kind of feels. I'm not gonna say looser exactly, but it feels like just it flows out a the first one feels like it's kind of like because it's so tight, the sound
mm,
just hits you a lot more.
yeah,
This
yeah.
one feels more a little bit more like if I was in a lake in a water and like the waves were coming to hit me,
Mm,
right? It hits you. It's not quite as it's gentler, but it's
yeah.
still maybe that's not what you're going for exactly, or maybe but that's kind of how I feel like it.
No, I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
and it's an interesting thing, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Guitar,
This
it,
one doesn't hit you as strongly, but I feel like the sound stays in the air a lot longer with this guitar than the other one does. Whereas the other one, it feels like it's a lot more like it's there. Like the other guitar, if I'm seeing like a rock and roll player, I want that guitar because that's what you want to hit do when you're in front of an audience. You want to hit them with the waves as hard as you can. This one, the music's still in the air even after you're done playing it, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So there's a number of differences that go into that.
Mhm.
Um, the pickups are big. That's probably the thing that's going to color your sound the most in terms of plugging into an amplifier. But everything else also plays a role in it. The woods that you choose, the rest of the electronics, like what kind of pots and stuff, play some role as well. The kind of hardware that you use too also makes a big difference. For me, I think the difference in that particular thing that you were saying is in the wood in the neck. So this guitar has a very light and very stiff wood called Paduk. It's this redwood in the back. And I'm sorry that the lighting isn't very good.
It's all good.
But and also the fretboard is very very dense and also very it's very dense for its weight and very stiff. And so you get just this very good sound transfer. Like when you're ringing the strings out, there's not a lot energy lost, where the string is like kind of like struggling again, is losing energy through the neck moving through um, a softer wood on the fretboard where it's kind of losing energy. So comparing this, just I'll just play one right side by side, and you can kind of get it. And I'll do the same pickup position, same chord.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Like I said, this one at the first one, I think wants to go. Like I said, feels like it wants to play harder stuff. Like it feels like it wants to play a little bit harder. The second one is an amazing acoustic guitar. Like that one actually sounds like if I was playing acoustic, that
It's got this really clean kind of clear, and it's interesting because those humbuckers that are in that guitar are very, they're supposed to be for like high gain stuff, but I really like the clean sound that comes out of them.
yeah.
This is the third guitar, so this is a different model. Those other two were called the Sentient model. This is the Orion. And I started naming, I didn't realize this when I first named my first model, but it's my first model that I really kind of set the name was for the Nexus. And I put the number of strings afterwards because not all of my guitars are going to be 6 strings. So I'll build 7 and 8 strings eventually. So it was the Nexus 6. And I realized after watching the second Blade Runner movie that that's the name of the replicants in the Blade Runner universe. TM, TM, TM. Hopefully I'm not.
It's all good. It's all good.
I think it's a very different field. I'm not in the movie business, but and so I've continued that through naming my models, is just picking things within the Blade Runner universe because it kind of fits the look of them, right? You know, it's pretty futuristic, pretty different. So this is the Orion model. C-beams glittering in the dark off the shoulder of Orion, off of that last monologue in the first Blade Runner movie. And then Sentient. The replicants are sentient. So let's see here. This third guitar, here's the exact same position as the other two.
I have to give you a golf clap because I if I sound like an obnoxious fan, yeah, you know, I think I would be a little obnoxious even from my show, but no, dude, really sweet sounding guitars, like
Thank
really,
you.
really sweet sounding. I'm not going to do the lame question of ask which one's your favorite because that would probably just result in you going silent. And you just be like, they're all my favorites, Josh, with a grin on your face, like shut up,
It's
right?
not
But
true, though, actually. I think I have a concise answer for you.
you do.
Yeah, I do. Okay, I play in a band that is just kind of starting, getting its base kind of put together. So we haven't played any live shows. We're just kind of jamming and writing music, and we have a good base already. And so that's what I'm playing. What I'm playing here is music that I've been writing, and so that you don't have any copyright issues, except for I don't.
No, you won't have copyright issues. Dude, we bullshitted about everything tonight. We've talked about other things as well. So I mean, we
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about
yeah.
Friday. So if I'm get if listen, they're gonna hit me on that one before they hit me on the Blade Runner one. So
Oh yeah, Tim Hortons, Blade Runner, Friday. Oh man, you've got a lot of people coming for you.
yeah.
So yeah, and I prefer actually the first guitar for my own music. Um, it's there's something about the pickups do something that I really like, and so I was actually going to have one of these guitars built for me. I was going to build one of them for me. This was that guitar. I picked all of the hardware for it, all of the woods for it, based off of exactly what I wanted at the time. But it's interesting how the more I get a chance to build these, and the more opportunity I have to try them out and play my own music through them, um, the more refined my search will become in terms of like the perfect combination for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So now I'm not gonna, keep any of these guitars. I want to sell all of them, and I have my own kind of next. I want the
Start
pickups
playing
in
his
this
next stuff.
guitar. I want the woods from that other guitar. So but yeah, this one that I was holding for the first whole part of the podcast, in terms of its sound, is my favorite. In terms of the looks, I do really like this one.
Oh, yeah, that one does look pretty freaking sweet, man.
It just kind of
Like
looks
y-
good on me too, I
yeah,
think.
it looks good on you. See, we're talking about magic card, like alterations. You could put like a fireball on that thing, and it would look freaking sweet. It really would. You just like,
Sure.
yeah. Well, it's like, why not? What?
Why not?
Yeah.
I'll
Just no glitter, though, right? No glitter. Mm.
Hey, you know what? If it's on you. If you are, you can do with it what you want because it's your property. I don't
Yes.
think I'm going to put the fireball on my guitar though.
No, I figured I figured like no fireball, no glitter. You just like I'm good with it as is, and honestly, it does look pretty sweet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Ah.
Yeah.
So
So how's that?
this is our first non-drink and draw version of the podcast. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I did. I feel like,
Yeah.
this is I don't do as much drawing as I used to, and so this actually feels a little bit more comfortable for me, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's just
Totally.
like this is what my life is now, and so
There's,
it's fun
dude,
to share that with you, and I'm very
yeah.
thankful.
No. Dude, and this is where you want it to go.
Yeah.
That's an awesome. If nothing else, this weekend should teach you the fact that you got to where you're at, right? You've created the life you wanted to create, man. That in of itself is a wonderful thing, and you should be very proud of where you're at. I'm still working on it. Like I said, I have to go back to do a Wendy's
I
job,
am too. I am too, man. Like I'm not.
but you're
I,
getting
I
there. You're
I'm getting there. I'm still living with my parents. Like that's how I'm able to do this. As like I don't have the consistency yet to
yeah, that's where I'm at too.
yeah.
Um, I do want to talk to you after the air before we fully wrap up because I did have some ideas. We'll talk about them afterwards.
Sure.
But on that note, dude, honestly, you make beautiful work. You really, really do, and you should be proud of it. And I think you're going to kick some serious ass when you go to that show tomorrow. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. May you meet the right people, and more importantly, may you meet people that love your work for what it is. You deserve
And
that.
vice versa. Vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of did like a nice little, I think, 20-25 minute advertisement of the guitars. Where can they find them?
Where can they find them? I am so kitted out right now on all of the social media and all of that stuff. I've got okay, well, my website isn't updated yet. So it's an older version of my website, but you'll still find all the good stuff there. I've got Harms Guitars at Instagram.
What's your website for people listening to it right now?
harmsguitars.com
Okay.
will take you to my website, and from there you can get all my different social medias and my email and my number and everything that to get in touch with me. harmsguitars@gmail.com.
Is that
Yeah,
good?
that's perfect.
Yeah. So people
Yeah.
can see it and watch it. And
Yeah. Even got
no, man, like that is no.
Look at that.
Ta-da!
This is exciting for me because it's been a number of years kind of like in the works, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just the
Dude,
little thing.
Congratulations on everything, and I wish you the best of luck. Yeah. So for those people watching, those people listening, thank you for watching and listening. Check out Joshua Harms. If you got a guitar, if you're in a band, you are in. Hey, I interview metal bands now, by the way. So it's like it's a regular thing on this show now.
That's awesome because you listen to metal, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, totally. I don't. I listen. I have other musicians. What happened there though? I accidentally stumbled onto a PR guy for metal, so
Oh,
now I have access to all these bands.
cool.
So it's kind of cool, right? So from all over the world, I've interviewed people from Spain, like the European
Incredible.
power metal scene. I've interviewed people there. If you go back on my Twitch channel, you like the band I interviewed from Texas, dude. It was like it's only a 45-minute chat because it's just it's the silliest fucking chat ever. We ended up talking about like beer and their music, like a little bit about their music history and stuff like that, and beer. That was our conversation pretty much for 45 minutes. So I mean, it's like
Few hot topics.
yeah, exactly. Silliest shit I've ever like one of the silliest conversations I've had all year. It's I like it. So it's like I get this opportunity.
That is?
What?
Do you know which episode that is off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's episode 772 on the podcast. I think it's like it was literally 2 days ago. They interviewed with me right before they went on tour. It was actually hilarious. Like they literally left after my so it's kind of cool. So you can watch it. It's a short show, but oh my god, is it funny? We none of us. It's cool. So I had this access. So, but for any bands going now back to this, for any bands interested in having a great instrument for their guitar, like a guitar for their band, or if you're a teacher looking to teach people, you will not get anything quite like the quality you'll get with a Harms guitar. You should definitely go check him out on his website. Goes to harmsguitar.com, guitars.com. I'm almost a trained professional, Josh. Almost.
We're all getting better every day.
That's right. Trained motherfucking professional am I. So I'm going to wrap things up with a couple things here. I'm going to be doing this first and foremost. Advertising services. If you want a micro ad for any of your accounts, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, if you want me to actually do an advertising campaign for you, or just to create the content, because I won't do your campaign for you, but I will give you the content to do a good campaign for you that will better highlight what you do. Definitely check out my website right now. You can go there right now and just check out everything I do. There's a variety of packages available. If you're working for a book trailer, Kickstarter video, a regular video, and advertising, I can do that. Definitely check that out. Hold on a second here. I got one more trained motherfucking professional thing here I gotta do here. Then we can wrap this up. So, folks, the other thing that's happening too is I'm actually got published in first ever Kickstarter, That's going to be launching next month. Yeah, so the story I talked about here about the glorious glitter dragon altar is actually going to be appearing in this Kickstarter campaign. It launches next month. You can go check it out. I am definitely a part of it. I'm writing it. It's also my first published illustration. No one's a little bit more scary about that than myself. Right? So, but there we are. This is what we're at. That all said, that is everything, ladies and gentlemen, for this week. We're gonna have a lighter week next week because in light of things happening with me, as in I'm not quite sure where. There's a chance next week I might be moving, so I'm pretending. I only have like 4 boxes, dude. It's not like most of my stuff's in a storage locker, so it's not a hard move. But basically, I'm looking for work in Calgary, and once I get the work, I'm going to see about getting a room in Calgary, basically to get me back there. Short term, turn what I'm doing into a sustainable, lucrative enterprise, the advertising services there. So that's where I'm going. So the next week might be a lighter week, but I do have a few guests lined up Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday for sure. Beyond that, folks, though, guys, stay inspired, keep shining in the dark. I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.